The Gorge is a new Apple TV Plus original action horror sci-fi movie which stars Anna Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller. It's directed by Scott Derrickson, and it's based on a script by Zach Dean. Now, the script was leaked, or really just released online years ago, along with the other movie Flight Risk, which just came out this year, but somehow made it to theater as well. This movie went to streaming. I honestly think this movie would have been far better in the theater, especially just compared to the Flight Risk experience. But they're both top scripts that were on the blacklist. Those are scripts that are posted and they're supposed to be really good. They're scripts that should be adapted, made into films. And there's always rankings every year, and the top scripts get to be made into films. And honestly, I really do love this strategy as someone who loves making movies and wants to make movies, especially feature films. I'm always happy with movies that get the opportunity for this. And with The Gorge, even if it wasn't the best movie, I still honestly am happy for the screenwriter, for everyone who got to be part of this movie, but mostly the screenwriter Zach Dean, who I believe had a story credit on Fast and Furious 9. I'm happy that he got to have this idea he made realized into a film. Before I get into really anything else, I do want to talk about that because this is an original IP movie. It isn't based on anything. It isn't based on any intellectual property or any franchise that came before it. This is an original story idea. It feels very much like a throwback to 80s or 90s, just the action films from that genre. And it really isn't action. It blends a lot of different genres into one to kind of come up with this interesting angle on survival horror. And in order to tell its story, it does have some issues that a lot of scripts might have, trying to fit a bunch of genres into one, so let's get into it. In this movie, Miles Teller stars as Levi Kane. He's a top U.S. sniper who's recruited by Sigourney Weaver's character, who's this shady government agent who wants him to watch one end of this giant gorge in the middle of a mountain range, in the middle of nowhere. We never really find out where it is. His job is really just being a maintenance man, as he's explained to by his predecessor, some other soldier who's been there for 365 days, and now it's Levi's turn. It's his rotation. So he gets there and he's just supposed to guard this pit, and we don't know what's in the pit. They describe it as a gateway to hell, which is honestly a pretty interesting concept at first. As soon as they said that, I was thinking this can't actually be a gateway to hell. If so, this is going to enter Lovecraftian horror elements. I really did think it's a really interesting, solid premise. Then we get Anya Taylor-Joy's character, who is on the other side of the pit. She's also watching one side of it, which is run by the Russians. So it's kind of explained that this place was founded or discovered by Russians and the US. So as a result, we have these two sides to the pit, to the gorge. And the backstory is fairly efficient and functional. We get to see Anya Taylor-Joy's backstory, how she comes from a sniper career too. She's in the military. She doesn't really have anything at home. Her father's dying. I do like how efficient the movie is at building up its premise. However, I just thought that overall this film is very cheesy and it doesn't feel like it ever commits to a genre. That was my main issue with it. The whole first half of this is romance. It is a movie that was released on Valentine's Day, and I can understand why. I can also understand why it was direct to video, because it feels very small. This doesn't feel like a movie you go to the theaters to watch because of just the closed nature of it. Again, there are lots of movies that are released that aren't huge. Like Companion very much could have been a direct-to-streaming movie. It was very simple, very to the point, very all-in-one location. You could tell the budget was low. Same with Wolfman, which got an IMAX release. Both those movies got IMAX releases. I could easily see The Gorge also getting one just based on how small all these movies are. But the issue with The Gorge is, for a Valentine's Day movie, it doesn't really fully lean into that. And I say that because as it was released on Valentine's Day, there's just a lot of romance at the beginning, and it kind of breaks into the rules of the movie. Like, this movie has Miles Teller's character not supposed to be making contact with the other side. That's the rule they say right away. You can't talk to the other side, yet right away, Anya Taylor-Joy says, "Hi, I'm Drasa," and she introduces herself. Also, let's just get this out of the way. Anya Taylor-Joy is sadly the worst actress to play some tough military sniper. She's just too pretty. She's too, I just can't see her as a military sniper. And it took me out of the movie. Miles Teller, yeah, I could see it kind of. He fits that vibe. He's played characters like this in Top Gun Maverick, even in Only the Brave. He just fits that role better. But the believability is just kind of instantly thrown out the moment that they start communicating and flirting back and forth. You get that they're these two lonely people in the middle of nowhere, and they say that they're cloaked, which means no one's watching them. But just the fact that Miles Teller immediately goes from saying we are not allowed contact to after she says it's my birthday and I'm going to celebrate. And they're showing like flashcards to each other and they're looking through a telescope. I honestly like this idea. Again, I like that this is an original script that got made, but just the way it combines genres, it did not feel believable. And then from that point, the movie transitions into sci-fi, horror, and with all of that, it was really hard to just process it, and I didn't really like where they went with that. So I'm going to get into spoilers here, but basically, Miles Teller ziplines across the gorge to go see Anya Taylor-Joy, and then when he's on his way back, he gets shot, or his zipline gets shot by one of the machine guns that's perched on the gorge, because there are these creatures that have been coming out of the gorge. Also, that's dealt with in a very casual way, that there are these like viney looking creatures running up and down the gorge, and these guns shoot them, and they kind of just have a scene with that and it goes away, which kind of takes away a bit of suspense, at least for me. And then like halfway through, they go into the gorge, Miles Teller falls, and Anya Taylor-Joy jumps in to save him, and they're trapped in this like underground kind of post-apocalyptic gorge, and you don't know like what it is, if it's hell, if it's this like pocket of the world that shouldn't exist, but you find out that it's actually the result, and I do like this, it's the result of a failed experiment during the Oppenheimer project, like during when Los Alamos was going on. They were trying to develop biological weapons, and somehow when there was an earthquake, the weapons ended up leaking, causing the earth to mutate, and this gorge was filled with mutated creatures, mutated animals, giant bugs. It's a really cool concept, to be honest. It just takes so long to get there. Like, the whole first half of this is all romance, all building it up. Then they get to the gorge, you find out what it is, they finally escape, and then there's this kind of like standoff with Sigourney Weaver, who just wants to keep it to, like, you know, make genetic experiments. I love the concept of it. It just does not work well. It's not executed perfectly. They actually have a great setup for something good. It reminded me a bit of The Abyss, where you have this, or, you know, any James Cameron project, or Alien, where you have the government wanting to do this project and they don't care if human lives are sacrificed. Also, the way it's just told is very uneven. You even see that the humans are bad right from the beginning, which I don't like. Like, the soldier who replaces Miles Teller on his rotation gets killed right away, so you know immediately that Sigourney Weaver's character is bad. I just wish the focus was entirely on the gorge until the end, where then you learned there was something shady going on behind the scenes, and then they have to destroy the gorge. It just feels like three different movies in one. The romance, the sci-fi horror, and then the human revenge element. Honestly, it's a fine time at the movies. I had fun watching this on streaming, but it just could have been way better. And that's kind of the issue I had with The Gorge. So let me know what you guys thought about it. I think it has all the bones to be a great sci-fi, horror, romance, adventure, action movie. Really, it has so much it could do. It just is a bit uneven. So let me know what you guys think of it. Thank you so much for watching.